ring a score like this. Not very efficient, especially if you don't have anything to snap with or anything like that. You can make a score, you can whack it on a corner like this, that's one thing. It's best just to do this, and with these straight nippers like this. And when you do it, do not try to bite in slowly like that. You don't want to hear that, okay? Because that is just making a rough bite like this, and then you'll just sit there and what you want to do is an immediate, forceful, fast nip, just a boom, like that. The more you grind, the less it's going to break, okay? So that's kind of important because you'll be cutting this off with virtually everything that you build on a punty. You'll be cutting it off to clean it, or in the murrine type thing where you wanted to pull it down to a smaller point, you'll be heating it and pulling it and then nipping it off. But basically on a full-size rod like this, when you're using it for a fairly big punty for pulling a murrine or making this sculptural head, you want to just nip it off square like this and start with the square thing. And the best way to do it.
Rather it be blunt than pull it off.
Because I don't want to penetrate. You saw how I penetrated that head?
Okay.
The reason why I penetrated that head is because I was talking and looking over here while I'm holding it this way, and I got it really, really soft and just let it go in there. But even if you don't do that, if you work on something like this for an hour and a half and you're holding it just like I said with the murrine, you're holding it and working it this way slowly but surely, that soft glass is migrating over, and this were steel, it would do the same thing. Slowly but surely it's penetrating in there, and now you've got this halfway up and you've got to get it out just like I had to get it out of that head. Okay, so by pulling it to a tapered point like that, that's great if you're pulling it down to something that's appropriate for the size that you're punty to, but it also makes a pointy spike that goes right into a head even easier. Okay, so I had that preheated clear. It's in the kiln. And that's just going to be a base. I'm still going to have to kind of work on the shape of the thing like this. And I'm not too worried that the Pyrex penetrates, because since it's just a demo, we're only looking at the front of the face. That's all that's really interesting here. So we just put this in and remelt this thing and give it a little bit better shape. Okay? Go ahead and use the heat. Just quickly, you don't have to do this, but I'm just trying to save some time because literally there is, out of the hundreds of either animal heads or human heads that I've done, it's always a good one is an hour and a half, you know, when it's going well. When it's going bad, it's forever. At least it feels like forever. Anyway, it's 2 hours, or you know, it could even be 2.5 if you're struggling. And this is one of those kind of things that if it's not going well, you kind of know it, and maybe it's not your day to make that thing. It's time to do something floral, or it's time to do something, you know.
Once you start messing the head up too much, sometimes it's better to start over than try and repair it.
Yeah, this kind of relies on making a movement once or twice. Because you start stretching, distorting, you start just bleeding out colors, you start doing all kinds of things, and really it goes downhill quickly.
Blow it out again.
Right, and that's why I was saying too that, you know, if it's going smooth, it's a day to do animal heads. It's a day to do humans. If it's going real, you're in the zone. If you're not in the zone, it's best just to kind of stop and maybe try again tomorrow or something, because it's amazing how you can get in the zone and be out of the zone too the next day, and just nothing goes right, right? So maybe this might be one of my not right days, and if that's the case, it doesn't really matter because the process is still the same. Even if I do it poorly, the process is still the same. And what we're going to do is, there are many ways to skin this cat, but what we're going to do is I have here a mouth murrine or lip murrine, right? And I have eye murrine. Now just as easily, or not just as easily, but easily, I could use the dots, and I could also use our ribbed cane that we created, that you push the push flower in, spread it out, and do it that way. This is more difficult, especially when it gets to this size, because I have to be able to place a pupil directly on center into a very small dot. And I also have to set this deeply into the eye socket, and that's kind of difficult. Okay, so let's just move on with this. Okay, as you see on the board, and if you want to flash, if you can, flash the board over there. You have some very basic pushes here to start your human face, okay? You've created this egg shape, at least from the front, and basically egg shape from the side also. I could improve the neck and improve the chin, but again, I'm not worried about that. I'm going to heat across the center of the face. The lower that cut is put into the face, the more juvenile it looks, like I said before. The rounder the face, the lower the cut, to where it gets to almost midpoint is going to be childish. Okay, round head, midpoint, big eyes, all these basic standard child things. The more adult or whatever is going to be at about a little bit above half or at about 2/3. So by putting an index mark like this tells you where your eye level is going to be on your head. I was going to also bend a hook. Does somebody have already a pre-bent hook? Because I was going to bend a hook to show you how to bend tungsten, but that's going to be another 3-5 minutes. So no. It has to be a tungsten hook. You've got them in your kit.
That's my feather texture.
Yeah, that's fine. It should be a little tighter, but this is what you're looking for as opposed to a straight rake angle, because this is not a rake. A tungsten hook is meant for sculptural reasons, and this is the reason. I go into that line on one side at a time. I push up and open up an eye socket. I push down and open an eye socket. The thing that makes the sculptures always go bad, there's basically two major issues. One is too much heat. Okay, this should be freaking solid. And you're going into a specific spot and only heating a specific spot and only moving that spot. Other than that, the head just gets this. It just gets a really light heat. You are the kiln. You are keeping it around 950 or in Boro case, the 1050, and you are the kiln. As long as you're just trying to keep it from cracking. But when you're working, you're coming in being very specific, right off the cones, very exact, right? Very exact, and opening it up. So overheating, just sitting here and turning is the death of good tight sculpture, because this kind of detail will melt away in a flash. One flash on the nose and boom, it's melted into the face. Another thing is not going deep enough for the eyes. Our skulls have sockets and the eyes go in sockets for a reason. They do not go on the surface of your face. Because then, you know, the tiger that's drawn on the board on the other side, it's called googly eye. Okay, you have to set your eyes into a socket and then put eyelids over it to create the right depth. Even with the eyelid, it's still deeper than the face. Okay, this is deeper than your face surface. Okay, so you want to make sure that these eye holes are nice and deep. You're basically digging holes with the back side of the hook. That's what's creating your socket. Now, you defined your overall shape of your face, your gender, and your nationality by basic bone structure. Now you're defining more how far away or how close your eye sockets are to make your face look individual. So this time, you're using the back side of the hook to put two index marks to say whether your bridge line on your nose is wide or narrow. Okay? So this tells you whether your bridge is wide or narrow. There's also a small dip here, varying person to person, right in between your forehead and the bridge of your nose. Okay, so that's your next move, is back of the hook, back of the hook. Now you are going to add glass to actually create the tip of the nose, or you can even really pull it out from the material, but basically that's last, because that's what's going to get hit by the flame and literally round it out in a second if you put it in too early. So don't worry about extending the nose. But you do want to know how long the bridge of the nose is to the tip of the nose, so your next step is to stop it with a line. So now I know whether my nose is going to be short and petite and stubby, or whether it's going to be long and Roman. Okay? So now you can see from the profile what you're setting up right here. You can see the profile, what you're setting. You stopped it here, and listen, you know, it's hard. You're working on the cold side, which means it may crack. And that's fine, especially if it's on the back. It doesn't matter. I can heal that crack up with as much heat as I want. If it goes through detail, then I'm kind of in trouble. Okay?
If you wanted to have a bump in the bridge of the nose, would you build that?
You're going to build that.
Okay.
The reason is because I have to lay enough glass on here to cover that clear. If there's any clear exposed, it's just like I said, if my color goes too thin, I'll actually see through the color and see that there's clear underneath it. So the same thing goes for the bridge of the nose and the tip of the nose. It has to be added color that's actually going to cover that bridge. So if you wanted a bump, it's added. Okay? And maybe even if you have too much of a bridge nose here, you will have to add too much nose of color. And so you might even want to take this clear down, that you've already established that this nose is going to be a fairly big nose once I add the color to it. So this is all, you know, the person that you're making. In the beginning, you're not going for a specific person. You're just trying to make a human. Like we said, there's stages of quality that you go through, and you start with googly, and then next is monstrous creature, torturous creature, then next is tortured human being, usually male, then next is male with expression, then next is good-looking human male, then next is tortured female, then next is expression female, and then next is beautiful, subtle, smooth, sensuous, exotic, wonderfully, blah, blah. Exactly. Anyway, that's the stages of difficulty. Okay, so now you're going to put the laugh lines in. So on either side of where you stopped the nose, you're just going to use the back side of the hook again to push in a laugh line on one side, push in a laugh line on the other side. This is then dividing basically cheek material from what will be mouth and chin material. There is one more line that I forgot to put on there, and that's not the mouth line, it's the chin line. So, I'm sorry, I got to go draw that on there. Where's my black marker? Right here. Right here. So this is here. Then the mouth will be here, you see? Okay? So, because you have to divide this chin mask from this mouth or lip mask, this dent right here. Okay? And that is actually next here. Again, you're using the back side of the hook to do most of these pushes. So I'm coming under the chin, I'm going right here. Okay, that's where my chin is going to be. You can also come from underneath this chin and bring glass forward. And that way you're even accentuating your chin even more this way. Now, the next is razor blade for the mouth. Now, these are just basic indicators. So I'm deciding where I'm dividing my facial features. They are not going to stay, but it gives me an idea of where I'm building to. Okay? Okay, so now once I've established that, now I start overlaying. I would normally use a flesh tone. And I normally use a flesh tone that was a mixed color, that it wasn't just pink. But since there aren't any mixed tones made ahead of time, I'm just going to use a pink overlay. Now, the same thing goes for animals. How do you lay on the color? You lay on the color the way that skin would wrinkle. You lay the color on the way that fur would grow. Okay, so the first strokes that you take through are through that eye socket, just one stroke and out, and then the other side. Now this socket is going to be filled with an eyeball, so you don't really have to worry about coating it, but basically want to coat the whole thing evenly. Next, you're going to go over the forehead, and because human forehead wrinkles usually go all the way across the forehead, you're going to go from side to side. And side to side and side to side. And the main reason why you're doing this is that anytime you overlay a flat single color, it may show striations or marks of strokes, right? You don't want those marks of strokes to be going diagonally to what would be normally facial features. So if those strokes do show, they at least show as crow's feet coming out the corners of the eyes, laugh lines coming down the sides, or wrinkles across the forehead. So you just keep laying these across. Now, how much do you lay? Make sure you lay it thick enough to where with a bunch of pushing and pulling and everything else, it's not going to go so thin that you can see the clear through. Over the eyebrow, down the inside bridge of the nose, down the inside bridge of the nose. Now, after you're finished doing this, it will look like the mummy, okay? It'll look just like the mummy. Into the laugh line and around, yeah? Same thing on what you do on one side, you try to do exactly on the other side. Same thing. Over the cheek, and then you can see in a curved way like this, cheekbone and down, right? Okay? Same thing on the other side. Curved, curved. This pink is also, once it goes on thin, not only does it show streaks pretty badly, which is why you have to do this. But it also can go pretty translucent when it's on thin. It seems relatively opaque until you paint it on thin. Down the bridge of the nose, just to put color on it, not for building the nose yet, but just to put color on it. Across the top lip, under the nose. Across that dent that I put in for the chin and mouth. It's smiling. Okay, and then down the side of the head on one side, down the chin, and work your way back. Remember, there will be hair, so you will be covering the back. For now, you don't even have to cover that with pink, of course. It's going to have something on it. Keep going back, and again, I'm going to build up forehead even more. So it's nice to put it on relatively thick. Not so much that it's changing the basic sculptural shape, but enough to make sure you're not going to dig through. Because you will still be moving this glass quite a bit, and that means that you could dig a hole right through the color if it is too thin, and you could also, on the other side of it, build it up too much and lose the idea of the shape that you started off with. And that's very important if you've established an animal that's a certain breed of a dog, for example, or whatever, that you don't build up glass in the wrong places to change your breed just by...
So you put a spot for the mouth, right? You did the chin and the mouth before?
What's that? Oh, I'm going to go across the mouth right now. But remember, the whole thing, I just did it for the yucks of making it look like it was laughing. I thought that was pretty, never mind. So you didn't like that, huh? Yeah, I didn't. It was lost on him. Anyway, so now what?
That corrective step, you just drug that with the tungsten as opposed to reapplying like a little.
Yeah, when you've got a burn off that leaves a blib or leaves a mass there, you can just literally flatten it out just a little bit, because now I'm going to use the heat to blend it in smoothly and a little bit of paddling to make everything flat. Okay, just use the heat. With Boro, of course, you're going to have to hit this way, way harder. And there's going to be a lot more tooling, and everything's just going to be a little bit more aggressive. But the steps are exactly the same. The steps would be exactly the same. Refining everything. Remember, I would be coming down the neck on a standard figure. You would be more punted to something that had a stub of a neck on it, you see. So I'd be punted more like that. But because I didn't gather enough glass when I threw it in the kiln, we're just going for it, you know. Yeah, and I'm just going to bring this stuff down to the punty. It doesn't matter if I rip it punty out and it takes the whole face away. I know everybody gets kind of upset when something gets ruined, but, you know, it's just a demonstration. So, okay, so now it looks really funny. Okay, so now you still have to go back in with the hook and redefine and smooth out these eye sockets again, all over again. And that was usually the standard question is, well, then why did you do all that stuff if you're just going to have to redo it again? And the answer to that is it not only shows you where you may have missed, but you will be pushing a flat thing trying to go in, and that will then thin out the pink and you will see through it and it'll make translucent spots. So you have to kind of overlay something that is already close. I saw a miss there. It's already close to the right sculptural shape. Otherwise, you will be digging color away. So again, you're going into the face. You're going to open it up. Make a nice deep socket. Same thing on the other side. Nice deep socket. Digging a hole. Bridge of the nose again. Narrowing again. Smoothing this all out. Using the back of the hook as the marver, basically, and sliding. Laugh line again. Stop of the nose. Laugh line again. Chin again. Can bring the chin up a little. And now you start kind of refining detail. Now remember, this is going to get a mouth murrine is going to get put, or lip murrine is going to get put in here. Eyes are going to be put into these sockets here.
So if you're using mixed color when you're putting on the face,
Yes.
is that any different?
No.
No?
No.
Would you put like darker colors?
No, because you're not creating, other than maybe a little bit of blush on the cheek, you're not creating shadows and highlights because that's what the sculpture's doing all by itself. Now, this is where, because you've dug in here and you've dug down here, you've taken the cheekbone away. When you do want to move a lot of glass, you have to push it and squish it rather than sliding it, because sliding it would do exactly what I said. It'll thin the color. So by putting and pressing, you're compressing the glass and forcing it like a balloon to go out where you're not pressing on it. So if I press it here and here, it's got to go there, okay? And this is actually freezing the pink where I press on it and squishing it out to where I want it, which creates then a cheekbone here. Same thing. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So you're heating it relatively deeply and pushing, freezing the pink and pushing it up, squishing it, and squishing it. And that then is raising the cheekbone on one side. And you can also bring down the jaw. Remember, you do have a kind of a square jaw here. And you can take this, flatten it out, and push this down, creating a more square jawline here. You also have a temple line here, dividing the forehead from the cheekbone. You use the radius side of the tool to come in and out of the eye. Here, and then again, squish that up. That's also on the board too. So the one that I did forget was that division of the chin. Same thing on the other side. Coming out.
Is that the last step there?
What's that?
That's what that last step indicates?
Yes, exactly. Now you're trying to contour the outside edge of the face, not actually the features, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to bring this jaw down. I brought that other jaw down. I'm going to bring this jaw down. There won't be time, as I said, to really do a great job of it, so I'm trying to just kind of hit things as fast as I can. Mm-hmm. And all the time you're looking at your basic face shape, you know, your basic face shape. I'm going to bring that chin a little bit more pointy and a little more forward. My mouth then, just to give you an idea where it's going to go, is going to go right about there, just to give you an indicator of where it's going to go. Okay? Okay, once my holes are dug, now I can go to the white of the eye. So nice and deep, remember, really big socket, really big socket. I'd want them to be a little smoother, but we got to move along. I'm going to take some white and I'm going to do a sweep from inside to out. So I don't want a straight round dot, I want an oval in there, okay? So I'm going to kind of drip up the tip here, gather a little bit on the tip, go into the inside of the eye. Oh, there. Go into the inside of the eye and sweep out. Now remember, there will be eyelids covering top and bottom, but I want to make sure that it's concentrated and pushed in. So after you initially put that streak in, make sure you get in there and kind of flatten everything out. If you let it get hot, remember it's recessed, it's going to be harder to get it hot again to push it around. Okay? So just get it in there, push it around. That'll mostly be covered. Now you're going to go in the other side, same exact thing.
Is it also be done with the graphite versus the bronze?
Yes. Virtually everything is done with slippery, slidey tools and tools that don't stick. That's why it's a tungsten hook instead of a stainless steel hook. That's why it's a graphite marver instead of a brass marver. The brass grabs and rakes. It's good for really moving glass or for digging glass or for cutting glass. The graphite's best for sliding motions or places that you need to slip and slide around. Okay, so then you push this white in here. Okay, make sure it's pretty much flat, even though it's going to be covered ahead of time. Now I'm going to go in, find myself some eyeballs, wash them with a little bit of heat. They're very, very thin. They're nipped as thin as possible. There we go. I wondered where I put those two. They got kind of lost in the mix here. You flash them. You do not, of course, want to melt them and just pinch them between your tweezers, because if they get too hot, that's exactly what will happen. Up. And you also don't want to drop them. And now you want to go down with your torch, right? Just a little bit. It doesn't have to be that needle flame or anything, but I just want to flash the heat, warm, flash the heat, warm, flash the heat, warm, flash the heat, warm. Place the eye and push it in. Okay? Now, it's best if you can find either a steel punty or a steel rod that's a similar diameter to the round thing that we talked about this yesterday, to the round thing you're trying to set. Because what I want to do is set this completely into the surface. Now, I can use a hook, but of course I can't press that circle all the way around. I have to kind of work it. What?
Do you want a mandrel?
Do you have? Well, no, those mandrels are too small. You need like a 3/16 or maybe a little bit smaller, but still, those are like 3/32 mandrel. So you can just flash and use the back side of the hook again to press, 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 flash, press, 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 press. I could have also made this eye look off to one side, which is kind of a cool effect to have it not just looking straight static forward, just by putting the eyeball a little bit off center. Yeah, either way, a little bit off center. Yeah, that's the downside to that, is that you have to make sure they are going the same direction, right? Okay, so that's good enough. Just kind of smooth it out a little bit. Now I'll go to the next one. Now, because I'm using murrine eyes, this kind of saves me the step of having to worry about the dot placement that I use to make my eyes the same, right? When you have the same exact nip, it's going to be the same size. The pupil's going to be the same size. Everything is going to be centered up. This one even has, you can't really see it, but it's got a radiating iris murrine. Maybe you can see it on the end piece here, like this. Maybe you can see some of that, okay? But again, I want to flash, warm, flash, warm, flash, set, drop, push, push. Now I want to take the back side of the hook and do the same thing again. Flashing with heat. Do not hit that murrine too hard, of course, because it'll curl up. It'll turn into a ball, basically, if you flash it too much. You just want to get a light glow and a press, a light glow and a press, light glow and a press, over and over until you're set virtually flush with the white. Once it is flush with the white, then you can hit it with heat to allow it to actually equalize and smooth itself out. Okay? Now I'm going to take some clear soft glass.
Rod is hot at the end.
This one is hot here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to want to peel it. So I'm just, because of that hotness, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to want to peel this because I want a very clear crystal ball to place over that iris, right? So I'm going to start by just heating the tip. Then I'm going to have to transfer this into two hands with this in the back flame. Peel the top off of it, and then very gingerly, very quickly peel the skin off the outside of this clear rod. I don't need a lot, but I do need a nice clear bead. Like that. Now this is too big, of course, for me to go in like this, so I'm going to heat this up here, and I'm going to pull it to the size that I need, and wait for a second, pull it to the size that I need, stop, let go, with the tool because that's contaminated, take that away, and now that's clean and uncontaminated. Let it ball back a little bit. Now, in order to make that blue and black of the eye not haze, I have to flash it to an orange, take it away, and let it cool. Focus on the clear. Touch it, push, let it cover the color, wait for a second, pull away. Leave that mass alone. Don't try to fix it. Now I'll go into the next one. You're going to go back and pluck that, but you want the blue to cool down because otherwise you'll feed the color up through the clear as you try to pluck off the lens, right? Okay, so a little bit here. Again, going right in there. Touch, push, wait, wait, wait. Burn far away from it, leaving a mass like this. So now you've got these tall, clear blobs on top of your eye. A little bit of washing. Every once in a while, just maintain the heat a little bit. But other than that, hard as a rock. I'm working on the cold side. I'd rather have it break than turn into a melted blob. Okay? And you are pushing so hard sometimes with the razor blade and things like that that you will literally push it off the punty. That happens. But usually the glass is in a plastic state so that if it were to even get pushed on the concrete, it would bounce, boing, boing, boing. It wouldn't hit and crack. And that's what you're looking for, is basically the plastic state, maybe a little bit cooler than that, a little bit more solid than that. Not brittle and ready to crack in an instant, okay? So now with glancing off of that clear only and going in with the pliers and taking away a good portion of that clear. And then same thing on the other side. But the idea is to glance off the clear only so you're not feeding the color up through. Now you can tap, tap, tap that clear back down to lens height, right? Just tap, tap, tap. Hopefully you've got a nice clean tool because again, every time you touch hot glass with the dirt behind dirt. So even Marver, pliers, tweezers, whatever you use, it's going to leave dirt behind.
So if you got that tungsten nice and red hot, would it be clean after that? Or would
No. I mean, that would be its cleanest if you went to, I shouldn't do this because it's going to use time. What you do is you go white hot. Could you bring the water? No, there's water right here. White hot, white hot, white hot, white hot. You don't really look at it. Don't look at it. Plunge it. Ting. And it goes chrome. Oh. And that's how you make a clean hook. You see the chromeness of that? Anyway, okay, so now I've got that. Now I'm going to pull some stringer for the eyelids. We're going to close in the eye now. Okay? You want to be very specific, as we've been focusing on for the past couple days. You want to be very specific on your pulls. They are for a reason. They're not just random stringers. They are for a reason. The bottom eyelid is going to be about 1/2 millimeter in diameter in this size of a face. So something like about, that might be a little bit big, but that's good. And then burn this to a point, nice clean point with no ball on it. Then the top eyelid is going to be about 1 millimeter. It's going over the top of the lid. And then if I were doing the lips, I am going to use a murrine for lips so I don't have to do it, but it would be the same thing for the top lip being like 1 millimeter, depending on whether it's Angelina Jolie or whether it's somebody with no lips. There'd be different diameters there too, probably 1 millimeter on the top and 1.5 millimeters on the bottom for the bottom lip.
So the bottom is larger on both sides?
Yes. Oh, no. The top eyelid is larger, okay, and the bottom. Okay, so something like that compared to this, you see. Those are your differences. Bottom eyelid will go on first. You're going to want to start from the inside of the tear duct and go ahead and turn your torch down. You don't need to really go crazy. You don't need a pinpoint or anything. But you just want to tack the very tip, right? So the tip gets hot. You go into the eye. You tack it in the center of the eye there and just follow that down and around and burn off. And now you do the same thing then to the other. You tack the inside. If it has a ball at the tip of it, you'd like to pull it to a point. Again, I don't have the time to really do this as well as it's supposed to be done, but you get the idea. So you tack this to the inside of the eye like this and then a light heat around like this. Now you can use then the hook on the opposite direction to press down this way and then ring around. So press it down, working it in against the skin. Remember, light flashes of heat. This is a small stringer. Too much heat and you're going to just melt it away. It's just going to be gone, right? So you can push it down and actually shape the shape of the bottom lid like this, making it curved. Or if you do over melt it, you've got a razor blade, you can come back under and undercut it and lift it this way, you see. So now I can push it up, I can push it down. The bottom lid usually will touch the bottom of the murrine, but will not cover much of it unless it's squinting, okay? The top eyelid will cover 1/4 or so of the radius. And with the top lid, again, it's pulled to a point so that you can go into the center here. And you tack the center there. And then you lightly work that heat up and around and down. Okay? Now I can take the back side of the hook and open up that eyelid. And I see that I don't like that right there. You can get right in between everything with the razor blade because everything's still standing up. If you melt it in now, you've got to separate it. There's no separation. But this, you see, there is a actual eyeball in there. So you can get under the eye. You can shape this. You can shape this. And you're coming out the corner of the eye. Don't worry about the corners of the eyes. Only worry about the eyelids for now. You can even make a secondary cut on the eyelid itself with the flash and cutting that with the razor blade. Like this. And now I'm going to do the other eyelid, and then I'll work on the corners of the eye. So this should be pulled to kind of a nice tapered point that will get into the corner of the eye. Again, use the hook. The top of the eyelid, pressing it down, and the inside of the eyelid, lifting it up. Now the corners of the eyes, like I said, on the inside here, both sides, and the outside here don't really matter, because what you can do is make your cuts from the corner, take your stringer, heat it up so that it's tacky, strong off of this, touch the corner of the eye, and pull out the corner of the eye like this, and then make the cut with the razor blade that way. Same thing on the inside. Now this is a little trickier, and why you don't do your nose too far ahead of time, because I'm going to glance off of this and I got to get into that hole. I would just melt my nose away. So I'm going to heat it like this, warm the stringer, go in the inside, touch, pull the tear duct out like this. Then I'm going to take the hook and go into the tear duct and push in and down and up a little bit to make that tear duct shape like that. Now I go to the other eye and do the same thing. I want to make sure I'm going to put an extra cut like I did on the other side across. Just glance the heat. And we talked about this too. Remember how you make a guide cut with this so that now you can catch it just easily like that. So same thing goes with the index marks for the with the poker. You make an index mark here, and now, boom, it's easier for me to hit that hole over and over again. If I'm trying to initially make a hole like that, I could be sliding all over the place. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the corner of the eye here. I know people that are listening to this have been out of the conversation for a couple of days, so we've covered not all this stuff, but we've covered some of this stuff. So when I'm talking to a student and they're shaking their head, I talked about this yesterday or the day before, so, you know, you're out of the loop, sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to cut the corner of the eye here and pull this back to a point. You will do the same exact thing to the corners of the mouth too. And what this does, you can see, is feed all the glass together to one common point, and then you can come in secondarily. And this is where you would put crow's feet for age, laugh lines, that kind of stuff. You can also, now this is really interesting, you see how there's a little blub, can you see that? There's a little blib of glass that's too heavy on the lower eyelid. So same kind of thing. You can glance the heat off the lower eyelid, touch it, and feed it back like this. That then evens out that little lump, and now you go back in again and cut. And so now you can see really why it could take 2 hours or whatever. You can just sit here and fiddle and fiddle and fiddle and fiddle. And as long as, again, now this might break, but as long as it's not going anywhere. And I could just stay here and stay here. I'm not going to melt the features away. I'm not going to change anything, right? You could garage it at any point and come back. I mean, that's the thing. You overheat things, everything goes to shit. You melt this eye and those eyelids in, it's done. There is no coming back. Now I'm going to go to the inside. Again, the nose is still kind of rough. I'm going to go to the inside, touch, feed out that tear duct, right? I want even a little bit more. Feed out that tear duct. Come in with my hook, push it in, poke it in and down, lift it slightly up, and that makes that tear duct shape. Okay? Now I'm going to redefine my bridge nose, because all that work around the eyes has, of course, let it spread back out again. So now I'm going to heat the bridge lightly. Flashing heats only. Nothing staying in one spot. Nothing bleeding everything apart. If I want to get that bridge hot, I'm flashing, 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 building the heat, and now you see with a very hard push, it's moving, and it moves for a surprising long time. Glass moves more than you really realize it's moving, and so you have to be careful with how much heat you give it. That's why you don't work too hot, because it's actually going to stay hot and move for way past the time that you think it stopped. And so that it will get out of control quickly. Okay, so let's go to the mouth. I'm just going to speed up and kind of get to this whole thing. My lips. You try to nip your murrine nips as thin as possible, because the thicker you nip them, the more I will have to get it deep in to be flush, the more chance of smearing it sideways or spreading it, okay? So you want your chip to be very thin, the same way as the eye murrine were nipped, very, very thin, like half a millimeter thick or something like that. So now I'm going to place my lips, okay? And normally I would
You're
even...
not going to do anything to the mouth before you play it. You're going to place them on there just like that.
I'm going to place it on there just like that. And then I'm going to start pushing it. I'm going to, you know, now you could put teeth.
You don't want to put like a little dent in there or anything like that?
No, because this is Angelina Jolie. I want these big now. It's not, I don't know. These are the lips I brought from home with no intention of using. Okay, I mean, seriously, I just brought all these samples of junk from home. And it just so happened that this is what we decided to.
You only have that line there for a point of reference, right? That's not there for.
Right, exactly. It's for point of reference to know pretty much where I'm going to set this, okay? Mm-hmm. Because now I'm going to take that, and I'm going to use the black line as my reference to cut in. See, so that starts to set the mouth. But I need to spread the lips out and actually get them blended into the top lip. Again, do not worry about the corner of the mouth. That doesn't matter. I'm going to take care of that by doing what I did to the eyes. And I want to bring the lip down to what would you call this as opposed to this? I mean, this is the lip. This is the philtrum. What is the whole... Okay, we need somebody in. Okay, but I'm going to bring the top lip down to meet the actual lip to make a transition to it, right? So this is what you're concentrated on now, is the shape of the top lip, blending it into this whole thing. You don't give a darn what's going on down here. You don't give a darn about the corners of the mouth. You're just getting the correct shape to this top lip, and you see how much heat? Boom, just that much heat. Boom, that much heat. Nothing to make it move, right? The laugh lines here. I'm going to take a lot of that away. Let's say I like that. Now I'm going to do the bottom lip. I come to the bottom lip. I'm going to go spread, 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 right? I already put a cut in. I'm going to put a cut in again, deeper. Now, and this is an interesting thing too, the more that I push this cut in, the smaller my lips get, because I'm actually pushing the color into the mouth. The more I flick out, the wider and fatter my lips are getting. So I can make them fat by going in and flick, 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 or I can make them smaller by cutting and pushing them in and puckering those lips up, right? So you're in control of shape by hitting this and this down the middle, and you're in control of size by how deep you push it in or by how wide you flick it out. Now I have a little bubble there that was in the pink evidently. So let's just get rid of that. It's a flash and it's gone. Just like that. Now I'm going to say, okay, that's great. I'm happy with it. I'm not, but that's the way it is. I'm going to go drastically hard. Now, I'm going to touch again with a cold or a cool stringer and feed. And feed. Now remember, I can feed out to make my mouth wider. When I want to cut it, I go up, and that stops it. So out makes it wide, up cuts it off. To make a smile, down to make a frown. But I can also do that with the poker too, with the hook too. So I'm going to, one more time, I want it just a little bit like that. Now I'm going to take the razor blade, I'm going to push this. I got a stringer in my hand, I can see it there. Before somebody said, you got a stringer in your hand, I caught it. Okay, so like this, right? Okay, now same thing then on the other side. Hit it hard because I am going to move a lot of this material. I'm going to remove a lot of this material and I'm going to stretch the mouth itself, so go ahead and hit it fairly hard. Touch and gather it up. Wait for a second. Pull. I'm going to feed it more than one time, maybe 3 times. Pull. Yeah, and I was just going to say, because you started to go down the mouth territory or whatever, and remember how I said we were going to make teeth last night? Yeah. Okay, so you dig a hole similar to how you dig the eye socket, okay? And as deep as possible. This allows you now to stick a tongue back in there. So what you do is you take your coral mixture, your darkest coral mixture, and remember how I said if you mix carrot red with white, you get salmon pink. And it's good for gums, and it's good for cat noses and animal noses. It's that translucent pink. Well, it's also good for the inside of a mouth. So you dig a hole just like the eye socket. You make a scoop through with that translucent pink that then makes the inside of your mouth look like that. You make a tongue with something like this just by heating the tip of it like this, giving it a little bit of a pinch with whatever, even a big masher, just to make it slightly flat. You heat it again, you put it on the table, you cut it in half to put that groove in there. You go into the mouth like this, burn it off and burn your tongue off, and push it back into the hole of the mouth. Then you've got this big gaping, you know those blow-up dolls? You know, right? You got the blow-up doll-looking thing, okay? And then you just take your bridge of teeth that you got, and you push a ridge up in there, a bridge down in, and then you do the lips over. And that closes it all back in, just like the eyelids closed around your eyes. So you dig a deep hole and build a mouth in there. And actually, you do the same kind of thing for a tiger. It's the same kind of thing when I do a tiger. You only do the top jaw. You pink the inside, and you blacken around the edge. You do the whole top thing. Then you put an open chin down here, and you put the tongue, and you put all this other stuff in, the molars in the back and the teeth and everything, but the mouth is really wide open. Then you close that all up. And then you put the canines on either side of it, connected in the middle, and then you start bringing up the lips to make a growl, and you've got a tongue and teeth and molars and the whole bit inside the mouth. With this, you don't have the, the hinge part of the jaw coming down. You have to kind of dig a hole like the eyes. But, okay, I don't care for, I'm talking too much. I don't care for the bottom lip a little bit. It's a little bit too big here, so I'm going to cut right underneath it just with the tool, like that. And I'm going to smooth that chin into there. Okay, let me get to the nose, and then I can get to ears. Okay? So now let's say I'm not, but let's say that I'm happy with where my positions are. One more thing above the lip is the philtrum itself. So I'm going to come in here with the point and just put one dip there. Right? I'm not that happy with it. It's not terrible, but... But remember, just flashes of heat. Nothing heavy. Nothing heavy. I'm narrowing the lips just a little bit. This is one of those things that you get fixated on. We do those murrine overlaid chips, you know, where you have a flat chip and you sculpt it on a pink head like this, and you fall slowly in love with your face, and so then it cracks or it starts to smear and it tear rolls, but you still love it, so now you turn it into a pirate by putting an eye patch over it, or Chihuly. You make a Chihuly face by sticking a pirate patch over it, or you make it a grandma so that you cut a bunch of wrinkles in it like this, and you can work on it for all day long. So you really, when we get into that kind of thing, you want to limit the students into how attached they grow to their faces, because they're hideous. After 2.5 hours, they're absolutely hideous, but you're still in love. That's my baby, I can't. Okay, so you can make smile, you can drag mouth out, you can make turned up lips, you can make character, whatever. I'm going to move on. Okay, so now I made my philtrum right in here. I'm going to define my lip a little bit better there.
What's the proper term for that?
Philtrum right here. Yeah, that thing there. Okay, so now I'm going to add extra material. This will be the nose. You start from the bridge, and you add actually more than you need. Okay? You also want to make sure that this rod is the same color as what you put on your face. Otherwise, you're going to have a nose that's distinctly different. You start from the bridge, even though you may not need the material. You start from the bridge, and you add a lot of material to the nose. You may end up with this Roman-looking, big nostril-y nose, right? Now, you also want to take a stringer. You can do it with your eye stringer or what was left of your nose stringer, and put some on either side, which is going to be for building the nostrils themselves. You need some material to work with, okay? So put some extra material there for the nostrils. Now I can define the bridge and melt the top of the bridge in to make sure that it doesn't look like it was added on, right? I want it to look like it's part of the sculpture. So now I can redefine the bridge widening it a little bit or narrowing it a little bit by brushing it up. I can take the razor blade and cut in that little bit of extra that I put for the nostril and narrow the nostrils just by ringing around the nostril like that, and the other side too. And this is where you get to African American or American Indian or something where you want the facial features to be a wide nose or a narrow nose, a long nose or a big bridge or all these different things. And then you start to refine the nostril again by the backside of the hook coming around the nostril itself, defining them to the forward part of the nose. And now you can come up underneath with the hook and create the nostril itself by coming up under and lifting slightly and lifting slightly. Okay, so now we got this. Now it's still got too much nose. And I see I don't like the color that I set up for this lip murrine. This was for a specific thing that I did at home, right? You see how the color of the top lip is so pink? The color of the bottom lip basically is faded away. So you're really, you know, you want to make sure that you're using the right color tones and everything, facial features that were meant for the thing that you were doing. I believe that this was to go on a share statue, and the skin of the share was like a tan-ish Indian color. Lip actually stood out against the skin color, whereas on the pink face it blends right in. Okay? Okay, so now I don't like the nose. It's too big, too predominant. So now I'm going to take a hot rod, just like I did the corners of the lips and the corners of the eyes. I'm going to glance the heat off of the bridge only. I'm going to tack to the center of the bridge, and I'm going to rake down and out. Now if I pull up, I get an upturned nose. If I pull down, I get a downturned nose. If I pull straight out and clean it up and then ball it back, I get just your standard nose, okay? Come back under with the nostrils here and straighten out. There. So now let's move on, okay? It always looks creepy without eyebrows and without wrinkles and anything like that. So I take now the razor blade, and you can see semi-streaks of when I painted the initial strokes of pink on there. Well, I'm going to go and follow those streaks with a light cut, just a flash of heat, light cut, light cut. I may even want some expression like worry. I could come into the temple here and just put a slight crease from the bridge line up on both sides, a thinking kind of a look. I'm a little frustrated. What's going on here? Okay. I might want to come in with a little bit further crease from the laugh line, more than just that rounded one, but an actual couple little wrinkles on the crease, like this. Start to give it a little bit of age. I might want to make a little bit of age coming out of the crow's feet or the side of the eye here, just to kind of give you the idea that there's some age or laugh lines, like that. Same thing on the other side. Very light heat, very light cut. You're not trying to really cut too deeply. You just want a wrinkle. Okay, so now you get this a little bit more on here. Okay, so now let's go with an ear. I'll show you just how easy an ear is. Okay, the top of the ear is going to line up just above the eye level. Just above eye level is the top of the ear, right? Now you can see, look, ooh, there's a crack in the back. Well, surprise, surprise, hit the hell out of it. As long as it's not on the face, what the heck's going to happen? Who cares? That's the point. I'm not worried about a crack. I can heal a crack. I'm going to paint hair over it. I'm going to put a hat on. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff. It doesn't really matter. And I can hit this just as hard and get it soupy and, you know, make one of those skulls with the long bone, whatever I want to do. As long as I don't break here, I don't care. Okay? So now I'm going to, the eye, or the top of the ear lines up with the eye, top of the eyelid basically, and back just above the corner of the jawbone, right? So if you follow your jawbone up, that's where your ear hole is, right behind the bone of your back jawbone, right? The top of your eye, of your ear, will line up right with the top of your eyelid. Okay, so now you know where to place your ear. And this is just how easy this is. I hate to say this, but it is an easy thing. I'm going to take a blob of glass. I'm going to heat the spot I'm applying it to. I'm going to place the material there that I need for my ear. I'm going to burn it on. I'm going to take my poker, I'm going to stick it straight in, I'm going to turn it around, I'm going to loop it up and around like this, making a loop that way and that way. I'm going to grab the outside of the lobe of the ear, I'm going to pull down and out. And that's pretty much all it takes. Okay? No, that and you of course you can grab the lip and you can open the lip up. Again, this hook is indispensable. And it's indispensable that it's tungsten because I can touch it over and over and over again, hot, hot, hot. It'll never stick. Unless I intentionally get this to glow and this to glow, then I can intentionally make it stick. So that if I wanted to remove a little teeny piece of glass from the corner of the eye or something, I could intentionally use it as a pick, but then it just falls right off as soon as it gets cold. I can poke a hole with tungsten straight all the way through this thing without distorting any of those features, and I can poke it so cleanly by polishing my poker that I can flame polish the inside of it. So in a clear pendant or a clear bead, I can polish the inside of the hole, and it's beautiful. It's shiny. So tungsten is, it's just the perfect material for sculptural things, perfect material for poking, or in cases when you don't want it to stick to the glass. You don't want the tool to stick to the glass. That's kind of it. Okay, you know where I'm going from there. Now, of course, like I said, it also looks creepy without an eyebrow of some kind. There's lots of ways to do this. You can do a rough mix. You know, you can just mix glass poorly to where it's got striations in it, and that's what you use, and it kind of simulates hair. You can use the clear kind of thing, like I was saying, if you use kind of a tinted color mixed with opaques, and then folding, and then putting over there, that gives it kind of depth. Okay? But mainly, it's about the sculptural. You do that too, but mainly it's about the sculptural part of it. So I wanted to find those eyelids, and you can also, want to leave them standing. You can also get a lot of character from this too, you know, the quizzical one eyebrow up, one eyebrow down kind of thing. So you can get a lot of interesting, ha-ha, ho-ho. Oh, wait a second. Where's Matthew? Say ho-ho. He's from France, so he knows how to do it. Ho-ho. Oh, oh la la. Oh, okay, that's even better. Okay. Sacre bleu. Well, how do you say that? Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so from the inside, you could pull a string ahead of time, but you don't have to. From the inside, then I'm going to touch this and trail off and burn it out. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing again. Like I said, you can pull a stringer if you want, doesn't really matter. Touch the inside, pull it out, just touch, tap, tap, and trail it, burn it off. Okay, now I want to set it. Because I trailed it, it may not be truly touching, so I want to make sure I'm set. Okay? Now see, they don't even match masses or anything, but they're standing up, and that's important because now I can glance the heat off of this, touch it, pull, and trail my glass off until I have the same amount of glass. Hey, this one is short, that one is long. Now I can hit this one here, touch it, pull it, and trail it along to match the other one. I can take my razor blade, I can cut from the top and bring it, oops, ding. That's another advantage of working cold like this, is that when a stringer flies back or a dot flies back, it doesn't stick. You just tack it off like this. If you work too hot and something like that flies back, boom, it's there. Now you got to go pluck it out. Okay, so I'm hitting this hard, I'm coming from the top and cutting it in, or just like with the eyelids, I can raise it up. Okay, same thing over here. This one's too high, I want to take it down. Cut it down. This one's too fat, I want to take it down. I heat it from the inside, I touch it, and I peel it off. This one's a little fat, I start from here, I cut over, take it off. You see, and now they start to be about the same amount of mass. Once you get it to the shape and size you want, you finish off the corners. So now I get it hot, just like the corners of the mouth. Touch, I feed to a fine point, pulling back, burn it off, tap, it's set. Same thing again on the other side. Good and hot, right in the corner, very clumsy stringer, right? Touch, pull back, way back, burn it off, tap. Okay? Now the texture. The final step then is hair texture in animals or whatever, or even eyebrow texture. A light glance up the thing, a tap, 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 tap. A tap, 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 tap. Again, a tap, 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 tap. And a tap, 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 tap. And now you've got textured, tapered eyebrows. No, no. You are on an animal. So I'm coming down, for example, the mane of a lion. I'm coming tap, 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 tap into its face. And then I'm coming even from underneath because you've got the edge, and I'm going tap, 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 and that's making it ruffle. And then I may be going again here. And then I'm going the chin, ding, 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 ding. I'm going maybe on the jowls here, cut, cut, cut. So, you know, you can make things look very, very furry just with that bing, 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 bing. And this is the kind of heat it takes to do it. 1, 2, 3. Bing, 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 bing. See? Again, hard as a rock, flash of heat, a bing, 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 bing. Hair. So you're working cold all the time. You are the kiln maintaining it at 980 or 1050, whether you're working with Boro or whatever. You never sit there and rotate in a flame like this. It will turn into a ball. And when you really want to be intense and come in, come in. Come in and make it happen. But make it happen there, not there. And fast. That's the whole important thing. So,
Did you do the second year? I missed the first one. I'm not gonna
well, wait a second. What time is it? Nope, I'm exactly done. This is exactly 1 hour. Done. Cut. But yes, I will do you another year. That was actually perfect, wasn't it? Wow. Okay, so now I'm going to drop the next ear again. Remember the mass, remember the location, leave the ear there. Put the right amount of glass, okay? And too much is fine because you're going to feed it back down. Try to get it just after you put it on while it's still hot. Again, heat that mass. Go into the ear canal, right? Lift around. This is then the lobe thing here. Come back with the hook to catch the lip here and come around there. Now grab the outside of the ear here and pull down to the lobe. Bing, like that. Okay? How many times have I done it? I don't even know. And this is where, of course, you can do the same thing of bringing the lobe into the side of the head. You know, some people do not have lobe. Just melt it into the side of the head as you do it. You can also refine the outside by softening it lightly, coming from the back side this way. You can also redivide it if you melt it too far into the head with the razor blade. Come in and recut the whole thing away. You can bring them around from the head from pulling out like this. Yeah, just total manipulation with the hook and the razor blade. You manipulate anything as long as you don't melt it in. And even when you melt it in, pretty much you can bring it back with the razor blade. That's the thing. Okay? So there is the guy. Bada bing. Oop. Okay. Oh yeah. Sure. Sure.